Hello everyone, hope you're keeping well. For this week's video I'm going to be making a bit of a vlog about some of the different types of marketing which are becoming more common, and how if you are like in the travel space, so by that I mean an accommodation owner, you might be a luxury resort, you might be a luxury hotel. I'm just going to be kind of talking you through some of the things which you could do, which maybe you don't do, or maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know, to kind of try and push and promote and market and sell the brand, across the omnichannel mix. Okay, now obviously video is very popular. I'm on YouTube myself, obviously, and it's more of an immersive experience, because it helps to create lookers to bookers. So as opposed to people like looking through a brochure or watching a TV program, which is similar to video in many ways, it can be more immersive. It makes people feel like they're on a kind of virtual trip or a virtual journey. So it's very, very powerful, and that's why YouTube is one of the biggest platforms out there. I mean, I was looking, it's not that I was looking, I saw something on TV the other day that the overall YouTube viewing figures are higher than ITV, in the UK. So it is huge, and it's going to grow more, and it's a great thing to get into. And it's something which, even though I do kind of marketing vlogs, and I discuss in a kind of, general way, sometimes a more specialist way, things like AI, the different software as a service platforms, maybe the different strategies, and give some context and tie it in with my previous experience and stuff like that. Whilst that's all well and good, there have been some shifts over the recent years, especially in the last 2 or 3 years with like AI. So there's new things coming out all the time. I've actually got my spreadsheet open in front of me now, and there's so many tools, and I've said this before, it's not only about the tools, but you can't write the tools off, because whatever business you're in, the tools can help you to optimize your game, improve your game. So there's literally tons of stuff around, from it's just too many to read out. I quite like Rask AI. Basically allows you to take a video and turn it into a different language, and I think that's really great, and you can do that, but there's some kind of feature where you can do, or there was when I last did it, you can do that on a kind of trial basis initially. Lots of different languages, but very good. There's tons of like CMS systems, CRM systems, CRM stroke CMS, some of them do a bit of both. So Go High Level is very popular, it's quite cost effective for what you get and what you pay. That's really good. It's a bit of a steep learning curve for that one. It's not a plug and play thing, depending on what you're doing, so you do need to kind of experiment with it and maybe study it, and do a few training courses and stuff to get up to speed with it. It's not like something you're going to be up to speed with on day one, but it's very, very popular with marketing agencies, and also with companies who are looking to expand their brand, and just take advantage of the marketing mix a bit more, and interact with the customers with things like Messenger and WhatsApp and Facebook and drip email campaigns and stuff like that, as well as keeping the context safe and secure. Then you've got stuff like Runway AI, that's been around for a while now. We can create different images and this, that and the other. There's tons of AI. I mean, just last month it was like Sora 2 that came out, and that's like a step above that, so the quality of the AI and the videos, it's really great. But I just want to kind of stop there, really, because my experience with this is that people buy people, so they look for authenticity, they look for a kind of realness in who's speaking to them, what's been said, is it factual, that kind of stuff. And they look for trust. Trust is an important word in this kind of conversation, because if people, I'm talking about, when I say people, like the for YouTube viewers, for people you're trying to reach, you know, on Google and meta ads and stuff. You know, if they can sense trust and authenticity, then they're much more likely to respond in kind, whether it be, you know, downloading something from a website landing page, or, you know, signing up to an email automation sequence campaign, or, you know, commenting on a post or a piece of content, or sharing a piece of content, or, you know, recommending the product or service by word of mouth to you know, another individual or another business. So, you know, there's something to be said for kind of authenticity marketing. You know, so that basically means keeping things real, building trust. You know, despite all these tools, and there's thousands of different tools out there really are, you know, tech and software as a service and stuff. At the end of the day, everyone's human, and people do trust, you know, a brand which they feel kind of ticks various boxes with regard to, you know, value, carbon footprint, social proof. So that's things like Trustpilot, you know, where people can clearly, in Google reviews, where they can see that, you know, clients / customers have, you know, maybe used the service or used the product and they've had a great experience and they've left a positive review. So that goes down well. But see, you know, it's just try and, you know, as much as I love marketing, you know, and as much as I love the tools, and there's a distinction to make here, because, you know, it's not possible to write the tools off and say, you know, they're not relevant, there's too many of them, we're not going to use them. But it's also not possible to write off the kind of principal foundations of, you know, trust and value and good quality and good customer service and things like that. So, you know, whatever your strategy is, you need to find a way to kind of tie it in together in a way which is seamless and frictionless, so that, you know, the end user or would-be customer or customer doesn't feel those kind of friction points. But you know, good marketing should never feel like marketing. That's how somebody once described it to me, you know. So yeah, well, you know, but there are loads of new developments out there. You know, I mean, I've made quite a few videos about a lot of the tools in the past. There's, you know, maybe what I'll do is I'll copy and paste some of these and I will put them in the description. There are a lot of them. So what I have is I have like a PDF, like an online PDF thing, and I copy and paste them into a PDF and I update it every so often, and then I copy and paste the online PDF into the description, and that way I can fit them all in. But there's a lot of them, and they all do different things, you know, from, you know, obviously everyone's heard of, you know, Canva and Adobe Express and HubSpot, you know, which are the kind of top things that people use in meta ads, generally speaking. But there's tons of other stuff as well, you know, like, you know, Skay.io, Opinion, Blaze AI, you know, some of them are expensive, some are a bit cheaper. It does depend on, you know, what your budget is and what you're trying to achieve. But the way to kind of achieve success, I believe, is to just kind of, you know, you have to spend some time looking at these things and, you know, looking at the websites, not just looking at the links, but just looking at the websites, figuring out whether they're going to be any use to you, you know, based on a kind of cost versus value type proposition. Some of them are really good, you know, depending on the size of your brand. You know, you, as I said, you might be like a, you know, an accommodation provider. You might be an Airbnb provider with like 5-6 different properties. You could be, because I'm making this video for slightly geared towards the travel sphere today, so you might be an accommodation owner, you might be an apartment owner, you might be independent hotel, you might be a big chain of hotels, you might be like a luxury resort in the Maldives, you know, anything like that. So I believe that, in fact, I know it's true because I've worked in this space for a long time, but, you know, success needs to be an omnichannel approach. So that means video, okay, so good quality video, and you need to make sure that the person filming the video, I do it myself as well, you know, knows what they're doing and has a good eye for design and is quite skilled in like the video editing. You know, some people aren't very good with the editing. They're using like stuff like Canva to edit the videos, which I think is a bit naff, to be honest. I mean, you need to be using Adobe, or not just Adobe, there's some other good programs out there as well. Like there's quite a few. There's, I haven't got them all in front of me. There's at least 7 or 8 decent video editors, maybe top 4 or 5, including Adobe suite. I did actually make a video about the video editors. You'll find it if you look for it. Click on that, and it's got all the different links in there. So there needs to be a strategy between that kind of immersive thing where you're trying to invite people to sample your holiday destination, stroke hotel, stroke Airbnb, stroke apartment, stroke independent hotel, in a kind of virtual sense, where they feel like they're actually there, and they get a good sense and a feel for what they're going to get if they book, tied in with things like good organic content, a bit of a hybrid, so some paid ads as well, typically across meta ads, so that includes things like Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Instagram ads are now run through Facebook, by the way, and maybe potentially if you're like a really upscale luxury resort in the Maldives or Seychelles, or Bangkok or Dubai or somewhere, or Paris or somewhere like that, might be worth creating some content for LinkedIn and doing some LinkedIn ads as well, because there's a lot of high profile C-suite high earners who use LinkedIn. I've always found that there's a lot of travel content, bespoke travel content on LinkedIn, so that would be something I'd recommend as well. If you've been going for a while, you've probably got a good kind of database of contacts, and recommend you use those for email marketing, providing they've given their consent for that, details to be used for that. There's loads of things you can do, promotional, offline marketing as well. So, above the line and below the line marketing. So that basically means things like, TV, press, radio, print. Direct mail's got a great thing. Very high return on that. I've had somebody quote it a couple of times, but it's got the highest return on investment of any of the channels. So compared to with things like sort of social media, direct mail's got a very high return on investment. It does cost a bit more to get up and running with that, and you need to go to a specialist company that knows exactly what they're doing with regard to the design, the production, the print, the distribution, and the etc. But it's got quite a high return on investment, so that's something you could do. Again, you need to have the contact details and etc. So look, it's I could rabble on for ages. As I say, I'll put this online PDF link once I've updated it into the description, and you can have a look yourselves. I'm actually, hoping to kind of take my marketing experience, because obviously I know my stuff, but I do the videography, and I want to try to just kind of steer over and move over slightly more into the luxury travel space. Now, it's a crowded space, and there's a lot of people just filming the videos. Everyone's got a different style, and maybe they don't have them. Maybe it's more of a holiday mode thing. Maybe they just want to be on a holiday and get free one-night stays or free two-night stays and travel the world and stuff. But for me personally, because I've got that marketing background, so I want to approach it slightly more from a kind of tech strategy perspective, rather than just filming like a vlog and then uploading it and stuff. So that's something for 2026 for me. I hope to be doing a bit more of that, and maybe spending a bit of time abroad in some different places, but that is the plan. So look, I'll finish the video there. Thank you very much for watching, listening, and I hope to see you on the next one. I do try and make all these vlogs different, rather than just make them all the same. A lot of the videos that are out there now, they do all feel the same, and people are kind of just pushing one strategy or one piece of software. Whereas what I try and do on my channel, right or wrong, I mean, obviously it's right, but everyone's got a different take on it, is to just try and offer some context and thought around certain elements of marketing, as well as discussing the technical side of things. I don't just want to be coming online and saying, well, this is Blaze AI, this is what it does, highly recommend it, because ultimately I don't recommend anything on my site if that makes sense from a legal perspective. I'm just telling you what's out there, again, what I'm aware of, given my background. But at the end of the day, I just want to give a kind of all-encompassing picture. So not only do I want to cover the tech, but I want to cover my thoughts around it, and just create some thought-provoking content, and get people thinking outside of the box a little bit more. And I've often found that works best and gets the best results. So look, I'm going to be quiet. Thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you on the next video. So take care, and I'll see you soon.